What's up, everybody? We're back for another waiver wire video. At this point of the year, we're so close to playoffs. Every waiver wire pickup that we make, we're shooting for short-term upside. We want to take shots with players that have league-winning upside that'll help carry our teams through to the playoffs and into that championship. We're going to go over a few young guns, a vet returning from injury, and a guy to stash whose return in September could push your team over the top. The shallow league segment's going to be bumping. The recap's going to be hot. I'm done talking. Let's get into it. For anyone new here, I'm Chris, and welcome to Number 2 Sports. Oh yeah, and Sadie just reminded me to hit that sub button if you aren't subscribed. She really wants us to get to 1,000. First up, we have a young gun from the Chicago White Sox, Lenyn Sosa. Featured in the Deep League segment over a month ago, everyone's hungry after seeing Trevor Rogers take home that Grand Slam honor. Sammy Sosa has been a real bright spot in another forgettable season for the Chicago White Sox. Ranked 32nd over the last 30 days, Sosa has been making great contact and showing off that pop in his bat. He's went 24 for 82 with 6 home runs and 17 RBI, supporting a .537 slugging percentage. All his expected stats are higher than his actuals, meaning he hasn't been overwhelmed at the dish at all this year. He has increased his bat speed and he's increased his pulled balls in air percentage by nearly 4%, giving almost 20% rate, which is the highest of his short career so far, and one of the higher marks in the league. Again, the more balls that you pull in the air, the more likely that good things will happen. And good things have been happening for the last month. Sosa was a career .280 hitter in the minors, really showcasing his ability to put the bat on the ball, but he really struggled in his first taste in majors in 2022 and 2023. Sosa played a lot better in 2024 though, and he's made more improvements in 2025, getting closer to that average around .280 that he had throughout the minors. The dude refuses to walk though, and he chases way too much, and he'd be practically a 0 in the stolen base department. Otherwise though, I like his all-around batting profile and fantasy skill set. Sosa's move up to second in the order. He's still only 25 years young and has triple position eligibility. Most importantly, that 2-bag. Sammy Sosa is an intriguing player to watch to close out the year, and he'd be an interesting add for 12-team leagues in need of middle infield help, especially at second base. I like chasing upside, and it seems like he has a lot of it to close out the year. Next up, we have another young gun from the Miami Marlins, Jacob Marcy. Marcy made his debut on August 1st, a spot opening up after the Marlins dealt Jesus Sanchez to the Houston Astros, and man, has he hit the league running. Marcy has started off 9 for 20 with 1 home run, 2 swipes, and 5 extra base hits. A few of those singles have been of the bloop category, coming off the bat at around 70 miles per hour, but a hit is a hit. And it's not like he's known for his crazy power or anything. Marcy hit 14 home runs in 98 AAA games last year, but swiped 46 bases. Really, since June 1st, he's been banging at that door, begging for his chance to prove himself in the majors. He hit .298, .382, .640 with 9 home runs and a 19.5 K percentage, which is what we want to see with young guys. Because like I've said before, anytime they get to the majors, we can expect that K rate to climb by at least 5%. You couple that with a 90% zone contact rate, and you could see why this guy has a very good batting profile. He's a 60 grade runner, which may be low as he has a 29.1 feet per second run speed, which was the second highest on the Jumbo Shrimp. And I just wanted some way to get the Jumbo Shrimp in here because I just think that name is awesome. Like, if you don't think this guy has wheels, just check out this play after a slow dribbler and error made by the first baseman. Marcy has drawn a ton of walks in the International League, and he's in the 93rd percentile for chase rate. Just watch some of these takes here, especially against Schlittler drawing the walk. Elite pitch recognition already for such a young guy. I don't expect him to be a big power guy in the majors, but sometimes we do just see prospects that aren't known for this power, that once they get up there, they just get this pop in their bat, and sometimes it just sticks. I'm not saying it will for Marcy, but there is that opportunity. But what we really are excited about is his ability to get on base, rack up hits, and use those wheels to swipe bags. He'll be a plus in the OBP department if you have that category in your league. Obviously, he's not going to hit 500 the rest of the season. Sample size is just way too small. He's obviously going to regress. But I love upside. I love chasing that juice, and he's a great dart throw in 12-team leagues if you need outfield help. I do expect a little cold streak to come. It's going to be inevitable. But the Marlins and his defensive ability should make sure that he'll get every opportunity to work through it and be an everyday player to close out the year. Next up, we're going with a repeat guy who I mentioned a ways back, and that's the starting pitcher off the Chicago Cubs, Cade Horton. Wow, look at Mr. Horton go. 23.1 scoreless consecutive innings for the Chicago Cubs. It's beyond impressive and just reaffirming the Chicago Cubs' decision to not include him in any trade talks because they view him as the future starting pitcher or a future ace for their organization. And he's starting to back up their claim. Now, before we all get too excited, get all our panties up in a bunch, I did talk about Cade before, and like I said back then, I still think he needs to get a third pitch. He needs more in his arsenal for him to consistently have success at the major league level, and I still believe that. He's mixed in a sinker in his last outing, but he's been predominantly the four-seamer, sweeper, and changeup with the odd curveball. The sinker played well in his last outing, so I am curious if he pumps that out again. But in past starts, he just consistently leaves that sweeper right over the heart of the plate and hopes that it doesn't get punished. Now, he's gotten away with it against weaker competition, but if he continues that way against stronger lineups, stronger players, I feel like he might get hit around a bit. And his expected stats kind of back up that claim. The expected ERA at 4.27 and an expected FIP at 4.41. So really, in conclusion, I think he just went through a super soft part of his schedule with the Chicago White Sox, Baltimore, and the Cincinnati Reds. I just don't think he's going to strike out enough guys to be super useful in fantasy, especially if we think his ERA is going to regress like I think it will against tougher competition. For 12-team leagues, I would think of him as a great spot starter streamer against a good matchup and a leave him on your bench type of guy when he plays a harder opponent. So really, I wouldn't be going and blowing my budget unless you're in a super deep league. His long-term outlook is still super promising. I still just think he needs to develop that third pitch more consistently before he'll get there. And I do think he will get there. I just don't think it's going to happen this year for fantasy purposes. I do hope I'm wrong though. I love Tim Hortons. Next up, we have another young guy, and you can see the theme here. Young guys with potentially a lot of upside. And that's Warming Bernabel off the Colorado Rockies. What a first name though, Warming. Weird. But anyways, I might do something a little crazy here. And I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to have back-to-back fades for waiver wire pickups. I think Warming Bernabel might turn into Cooling Bernabel. And I know, I get it. I should have been a stand-up comedian. Bailey tells me that all the time. But anyways, back to Bernabel. A lot of his production came off that crazy, ridiculous 17-16 game against the Pirates in Coors. Like, put me in that game. I guarantee I'm hitting one out. Just kidding. For sure, I strike out or wet my pants with a 100-mile heater coming right at me. Or the most likely scenario is probably both. But looking at his advanced game logs, it's not like he's smacking the ball. Lots of middling contact, and his expected stats through this very small sample size reflect that. Not highly touted as a prospect, Bernabel did do fairly well at AAA, batting over 300 in 2024 with an 806 OPS. He has proven that he does have the ability to hit for contact. He did only have 8 home runs in 75 minor league games though, and his production has really started to fall off since his insanely hot run, going 3 for 20 with only 1 RBI. We can't forget that he does play half his games in Coors though, which just boosts everything up in every hitter's profile. And a career 300 hitter in AAA just means that his batting profile and his fantasy potential could play really well in Coors. I still think I'm fading him though if I had to drop anyone of value, so I'm not going to blow my budget on him this weekend. But I could be wrong. I don't know. How are you guys feeling about him? Let me know if you're picking him up this weekend. Let me know if you're blowing your budget on him in the comments down below. Okay, now we're on to a vet that just returned from injury today, and that's Ryan Mountcastle from the Baltimore Orioles. Thad Castle has been a fairly productive fantasy player over the years, and I do imagine he was dropped in a ton of leagues when he hurt himself back in May. He went 12 for 31 with 3 home runs, 4 doubles in 9 rehab games at AAA. Mountcastle was also fairly unlucky to begin this year. He had 16 barrels and a 46.5% hard hit rate, and all his expected stats were better than his actuals. It does mean that there should be some positive regression to close out this year. He retooled his approach to start pulling the ball in the air more often, almost 7% higher than last year, to take advantage of that closer fence and left field that came in yards, and get back to those 2021 levels where we hit 33 bombs. Mountcastle started off hot, homering in his first at-bat, and he should get all the playing time he could handle between first base and DH. I'd be okay with adding him in 12-team leagues if you need help at a corner infield spot. Okay, now we're going to go into a player to stash who should be returning near the end of August or the beginning of September, and that's Victor Robles of the Seattle Marooners. So he's someone to definitely keep your eye on. Robles was amazing to end the year last year for the Seattle Mariners, and he really revitalized his career and earned himself a contract after coming over from Washington. If he can jump right back into that leadoff spot, which he occupied to end the year last year, he could be a great source of hits, runs, and stolen bases, playing at the top of a loaded Seattle Mariners lineup. He's starting his rehab assignment on August 12th, so I'd give him a couple weeks there to get his legs back underneath him, and then you should expect him back up in the majors. Definitely someone to keep your eye on, in my opinion. All right, we'll do one more bonus player, and that's Daryl Hernandez off the Oakland or Sacramento Athletics. Hernandez has yet to strike out in 28 at-bats, trying to do his best Jacob Wilson impression, which is who he replaced when he went to the IL. I also have no idea when Wilson's going to return, so Hernandez should get all the playing time that he can handle, all that bats that he'll be able to handle. He had a horrible debut in 2024 batting under 200, but he batted over 300 in AAA last year. He's someone to keep an eye on, could be eerily similar to Wilson if the contact rate holds up. Hit that start, put him on the watch list, see what he does this weekend and over the next week, and let's go from there. Unless you're a gambling man and want to roll the dice now, because if he does keep this up, he's definitely going to be in the main waiver wire section with a more in-depth analysis next week and a deeper dive. Okay, now let's get into the shallow league segment where I just think these players are under rostered, and all these roster percentages are based off Yahoo. I'm not going to highlight a guy over 70% owned, so we're going to look for players in that 50 to 70% range that I think, again, are just under rostered, and this will mainly be for 8-man leagues, 10-man leagues, and some 12-man leagues. First up, we're going Luke Keeschall. Now, similar to Trevor Rogers, who took home the inaugural number 2 Sports Grand Slam honor, Keeschall is a little bit different. Instead of a deep league ad, he was a prospect to stash. Then he went to the main waiver wire segment, and now look at him, he's in the shallow league segment as well. So let's give a quick round of applause to Luke, because he's earned it, man. First 2 games off the IL, he's picked up exactly where he left off after his short but impressive MLB career. He's recorded back-to-back multi-hit games with a home run and 6 RBI. Sign me up, man. Next up, we're going David Bednar, and the Yankees bullpen and their new additions are just in a complete flux right now. They've all had terrible debuts, and in this last outing, when the Yankees are just desperately needing a save, I know with other pitchers, they'd pitch on Monday and Tuesday, so maybe they weren't available for Wednesday, but Bednar came in, he recorded a 5-out save, all of them via strikeout. I think this bullpen has now turned into a situation where if one of them just gets hot, I think they legit could just run away with the job. Bednar is the most recent one to ace his audition, and he could be looking to get another chance soon. Next up, we're going with one of the hottest hitters potentially in the entire MLB right now, and that's Andrew Vaughn off the Milwaukee Brewers. And man, he just continues to mash the baseball ever since he got traded from the lowly Chicago White Sox. I don't know how sustainable it's going to be, but man, you just can't ignore when a player is on some sort of run like he is. I love players with something to prove, and the Brewers just seemingly can't do wrong right now. I'd love to have Vaughn on my roster right now to close out the year, or at least until this insane run comes to an end. Next up, we're going with the big fella, Gavin Williams of the Cleveland Guardians. Now, this is a guy that I have talked about a bunch. He's been in the main waiver wire section. I think he's been in the shallow league section 1 or 2 times as well. Williams was so close to throwing a no-hitter against the Mets until Soto had to go and ruin it for no reason. Williams also got ripped off of a complete game with a suspect 3-2 ball call to Nimmo as well, and then he got pulled right after that. Regardless, that's now 5 very impressive outings in his last 6. He's been getting close to 7.4 feet of extension, which is crazy, and coupled with a 97-mile-per-hour fastball, and you can see why hitters are having such a hard time catching up to it. He's gone from the 3-pitch pitcher of fastball, curveball, sweeper to adding a cutter and sinker to round out his arsenal, and I love it. Williams is pounding the strike zone. He's on a roll. I'd maybe be a little wary of his next outing after he just pitched 126 pitches against the Mets. Maybe he might have some fatigue in there, but I am so optimistic about this new Gavin, and I'd be super excited to have him on any 12-man league where he's still floating around on a wire. Next up, we're going to go Ezekiel Tovar from the Colorado Rockies. Now, it always seems every year in August or September through the summer months that there's some random hitter that always helps carry these fantasy baseball teams to championships who just gets insanely hot over the last couple of months. Tovar has been pretty productive when he's healthy this year. He's making a lot of solid contact. Again, plays in such a great home ballpark. I can see Tovar going on a nice run to close out the year, so I do want him on my bench in 12-man leagues. Just watch those home and away splits. Be proactive, see when Colorado's going to have a nice homestand, and get him in your lineups. If you think that I couldn't mention our first-time Grand Slam winner of the #2 Sports Famous Award, you are wrong. I'm getting Trevor Rogers in here for probably the last time before his roster rate skyrockets or goes above 70%. And man, he actually legit is holding up his end of the bargain in that Kyle Stowers trade. He has 6 quality starts in a row, and he's just on cruise control right now. I know way back when I first mentioned him in the Deep League segment, I said that 2021 Trevor Rogers wasn't walking through that door. Well, that sure didn't age well because he is here and he's better. What a story he's been. He's a legit set and forget guy in 12-man leagues to close out the year. Next up, we have Maximilian Max Scherzer, and the Blue Jays have him sipping out of that fountain of youth because he looks young, locked in, and he looks great out there, striking out guys left, right, and center. Mad Max slider is dominating righties, and he's keeping his changeup down and away while also getting whiffs on his four-seamer. You'd like to see him get a little bit more ground balls for balls hit and play. He's in the first percentile for that right now, but if we look back over his career, he's never been that great of a ground ball pitcher, so I don't really think that's an issue we need to be concerned with right now. Scherzer has a great schedule coming up, and I think he's a must-add guy in all 12-team leagues. He's just got to stay healthy, man. I feel like my posture shift's been so this entire video. My lower back's humming right now. Was lifting all floor. We're renovating the upstairs of our house, and I was just bombing with my buddy 75 boxes of floor up a flight of stairs, and I feel like an old man right now. I'm just aching. But do you know who doesn't feel like an old man right now? That's Ryan Nelson and his unbelievable four-seamer. That thing is 19 inches of vert, great extension. It's always just been his secondaries holding him back from really taking that next big leap in his development. But he may have started to find something with that slider against right-handed batters. In his last 2 outings, Nelson has had his slider as a legit #2 pitch to righties, getting whiffs and being a solid strike pitch. The location down and away has been superb. It has decent velocity and he hides it well on the release point from his hand. There's still a question mark for lefties. He does try and throw a curveball every now and then. It's not bad, but it's definitely far from polished, and you can just tell that he doesn't have the utmost confidence on relying on it throughout the game. He was trying to mix in a cutter, but he's pretty much abandoned that as well. But with that slider, I think we've took one step forward, and we got to be patient, one step at a time. But I think we are so close from him being really, really good. I feel like we're talking about a lot of pitchers, but let's keep rolling with another one, Emmett Sheehan. And I know his rotation spot was a little murky for a little while, but it looks like it's secure until Sasaki comes back. I don't know why that sounded funny to say. Sheehan has pitched well in his last 2 outings. His four-seamer is the bread and butter with a vert of 18 inches with solid extension around 6.8 feet and hovers around 96 miles per hour. He has great strikeout potential. He has a good team around him, or at least he should have a good team around him to close out the year. I do think the Dodgers are going to get out of this little funk and start being one of the better teams in baseball like they should be. And if he just homes in his command just a little bit more, I can see him being very useful for 12-team leagues to close out the year. Also, Edward Cabrera, Adam, why aren't people adding him? What is going on there? Why is he floating around in some leagues? I'm not going to go much into him because he is in the recap, but someone please explain to me. Are we still just scared from his history, or am I just overly in love with the guy? And I better have not Jinx Cabrera talking about him twice in this video. I need him for my teams, man. Okay, we're going to only do 2 more here. First up, Bryce Miller. We talked about him last week. And again, in that rehab outing, his velocity looked great. And he said after the game, it's the best he's felt all year. In that outing, it looked like he got his swagger back. He pitches in the best pitcher's park in all of baseball at Seattle. I am so hyped for Miller to come back into the rotation. And you should be too if you're a fantasy manager. I am very high on Miller to close out the year. And we're going to close it up with another personal favorite, Addison Barger off the Toronto Blue Jays. The guy is playing every day as he should be, tearing the cover off the baseball, playing in a Jays lineup that just scored 45 runs in a 3-game series in Colorado. Why aren't we picking this guy up? I'm legit curious. If he's a free agent floating around in your pool right now, what is your decision? Like, who are you keeping on your bench that you don't want Barger? Let me know in comments down below. I am just genuinely curious. Okay, now it's time for the recap segment. We're going to go over the video I posted on July 26. We all know now that Bailey's hoping for another punishment, so let's get into it. Let's see how these guys have done over the last couple of weeks. First up, we have the catcher from Atlanta, Drake Baldwin. You'd like to see more counting stats like runs, RBIs, and home runs, but in the end, he's not killing you in the average department. He's making consistently hard contact, and he's getting on base. Baldwin has great bat speed, great hard hit percentage, great whiff and K percentages, and his rolling expected WOBA has been steadily increasing and hovering around 400 for the last month. The power and counting stats will eventually come. I'm still very high on Baldwin to finish out this year strong. I don't think he should be available in 12-team leagues. His game on Thursday night is a perfect example of his ceiling. 3 for 5 with 2 home runs and 5 RBI. Next up, we have Jesus Sanchez, the newly acquired outfielder for the Houston Astros. The last time we talked about this guy, he was a Miami Marlin and potential trade candidate. And look at that. He got traded to a better lineup, better supporting cast, and a decent home ballpark. Since being acquired from Houston, Sanchez has been batting second or third in a much better lineup. I'm not going to rehash all the positive changes he made this year, which made my nutsack tingle a little bit. If you want to see those, you can go check out that video, but he's making phenomenal contact right now. He's pulling the ball in the air, consistently hitting the ball in play over 100 miles per hour. I am pretty bullish on Sanchez to close out the year strong. If I needed outfield help in 12-man leagues right now, I'd be looking to add Sanchez where available. Let's keep rolling with Tyler Lockyer, the new first baseman for the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's not football season yet, Chris. Holy. Again, this was another trade candidate guy who we talked about who just had no room in Seattle with the Naylor trade, but he eventually went back to Arizona in the Suarez deal. Locklear was annihilating AAA pitching, and his hitting tools should translate fine to the major league level. I'm not going to sit here and say he's some guaranteed thing because he's not, but I am very intrigued to see how Locklear finishes out the season in his newfound home in Arizona. Next up, we just kind of had a little quick shout out, but it was Dominic Canzone of the Seattle Marooners. So this is definitely a Mariner bias pick and savant page lover, but he's been playing regularly, which in my opinion he should be. His power is legit, everything under the hood is near the top of the league, and Canzone has increased his bat speed, shortened his swing, widened his stance, and I would expect some positive regression to close out the season, batting in that now stacked Seattle lineup. I just don't know if it'll be consistent enough this year to be useful for 12-team leagues. Next up, we have the outfielder from Colorado, Mickey Moniak. Like I said in the video, if you can start him against righties in Coors Field, you do it. He's going to sit against lefties, and he will be underwhelming on the road. He's a great bench guy for daily leagues where you can adjust your lineup accordingly. You keep going with my long-term fantasy baseball crush, finally turned fantasy boyfriend because he's just pitching so damn well. Edward Cabrera from the Miami Marlins. Cabrera's just pitching so well. It's just so awesome to see. In his latest outing, he went curveball, changeup, slider heavy, throwing only 20 combined heaters, 13 sinkers, and just 7 four-seamers in the entire outing. Now, we don't want to jinx Cabrera at all, but I honestly think in the leagues that I have him, he's just a set-and-forget guy to close out the year. And after years of teasing me, that makes me pretty happy. And last up, we had our super awesome bonus pick, Ryan McMahon. And I wasn't super confident in the video, like I said, about his transfer to New York because his home and the road splits are kind of crazy. But we did go over some tin hat science, which clearly hasn't paid off yet. Ryan is an easy drop. Get him out of here type guy in 12-man leagues. Okay, so to quickly recap and see if we got a punishment, I'm going Baldwin good. Even though he had started off a little bit slow, he picked it up tremendously Thursday night, as I talked about. Jesus Sanchez, I think he's still going to be decent. I think he could have a really good hot streak to end the year. I know he's not blowing you away in fantasy perspective right now. So, okay, I'll say he's average then. Locklear, we're going to go undecided. I want to see how he does in Arizona. We got to give him a little bit more time. Canzone was just kind of like a quick shout out, so I'm not really going to rate it as good or bad. But if we were talking for 12-team leagues, I don't think he's going to do enough, at least this year, to justify a roster spot. Mickey Mantle, again, he's going to be great if you can start him in a daily league. For a weekly lock league, I don't know if he's there yet. I'm going to say no. Cabrera, obviously amazing. I love that guy. And last up, we had the bonus pick, Ryan McMahon. And I was a little wary about his home and away splits going to New York. We did some tin hat science stuff, but really it hasn't panned out at all. He doesn't look any different. I said it might be an uptick in his fantasy value. It doesn't look like that at all. If you have him in a 12-man league or whatever and you need to make roster space, you can easily let him go. It is a loaded lineup though, and he is a hot and cold player. So when he's on a hot streak, you can pick him up, use him, but when he goes cold, feel free to kick him to the curb. Some of you may not like it, but I'm going no punishment. All right, that's it for this week's waiver wire video. Make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already. I am curious though, before we go, do any of you guys play fantasy basketball or are interested in fantasy basketball? I started this channel as basketball first, my first true love, and baseball second. It would be awesome if you guys continue to watch my stuff, follow me once baseball winds down and basketball starts picking up and I start transitioning over to that sport. I was also thinking for anyone interested, we could try and start some leagues of our own if people wanted to join it for the first time, or maybe do some best ball drafts. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'm curious if you guys are interested in fantasy basketball at all, or if you'll tune in once we switch out of baseball. But in the meantime, we're going to keep going with baseball. We got to get focused. We got to stay in. Playoffs are coming. I appreciate everyone watching as always. Take it easy. Have a good weekend. Have a good week, and I'll see you next week.